Hello, everybody. Recording live from the CakeDrain Productions Studio Springfield branch. I'm Cain.
I'm Drake.
And together we are
CakeDrain.
Welcome to the first inaugural episode, the only inaugural one, because it's the inaugural one.
It's the inaugural.
Of a new podcast show that we're going to be doing on here whenever we get the creative itch to do so. And it's called Pitch It To Me.
Pitch It To Me.
This is a fan-created, fan-driven, or fandom-driven podcast where somebody comes onto the show with an idea for a story, whether it be a movie or a show or a comic book or whatever, set in one of their favorite fandoms, and they pitch it to the other person, and they listen and they talk about it, and it's just a celebration of the things that we love. Today I'm going to be the pitcher, and Drake's going to be the catcher. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to catch whatever pitches you throw at me, bro.
Yeah. This is exciting. This is the first podcast we're recording together. The first thing we're recording together in quite some time. So this is a special occasion. All right, I guess we'll just dive right in and preface this. Of course, guys, you can expect no less. This is a Star Wars pitch.
Heck yeah.
I don't want to disappoint you people. I'm obviously obsessed. But that's okay. I'm not in need of assistance, I promise. So my pitch is inspired. I'm going to preface this with this. It's inspired by whenever the Jon Favreau, live-action TV series was announced for the Disney streaming service coming out. The streaming service comes out next year. We don't know when Jon Favreau's show is coming out, but been confirmed. It's 10 episodes long. It's got a budget. They just recently confirmed it's got a budget of about $100 million and stuff like that. So whenever they first announced it, I was very inspired. I was like, man, I really want to see a bounty hunter show. Now, this is probably not what he's doing. A lot of people think he's doing Mandalorian stuff because, as my fellow Star Wars deep cut nerds or whatever that watch Clone Wars a lot, Favreau voiced Pre Vizsla, who's a Mandalorian leader of Death Watch. He's a really cool character. He's really steeped in that. He's a big nerd. He's been writing this show before Disney even had the rights, or he's been writing, brainstorming and stuff since college. So Favreau's a big nerd.
As all the best directors start out. I mean,
exactly.
Just throwing back to CakeDrain roots here.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, who's one of our inspirations on there. He had obsessed about Spider-Man since the Evil Dead days. So I mean,
oh yeah, well yeah, he was a little kid. He grew up with Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But yeah, anywho.
Yeah. Side note.
So Favreau's show inspired me to make my own show. Originally, I envisioned this as me and Favreau collaborating. If I have time.
Let me pick up those names you just picked. You just dropped there.
But instead, I was like, I'll make my own show. But it's also going to be a 10-episode mini-series, limited series. It's just the 10 episodes. It's not like a continual series. The arc is over the 10 episodes, hour-long episodes. I like the $100 million budget. You got $10 million per episode, if I did my math right. And that seems reasonable for what we're doing here. All right. And I'm going to hit you with the title, and then we'll go into everything else.
All right.
Picture this on the Disney streaming service coming out in fall next year. And then sometime after that, CakeDrain Productions presents, a show written, produced by Cain J. Martin, Star Wars, New Republic, Scoundrels.
Ooh.
Now, New Republic, as you can see, it's set after the events of the fall of the Galactic Empire, after the events of Return of the Jedi, approximately 3 to 4 years after the Battle of Jakku, which is the final battle where the Empire was smashed. Toast. Nice. The New Republic is growing in the galaxy. Peace is kind of starting to come out, but as we know from some of the canon novels that came out, the Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy, they were still hunting. They were still dealing with some Imperial remnants, dealing with the criminal underworld, trying to rise up during that power vacuum after the fall of the Empire. And so it's kind of in that time period where the New Republic's trying to get a hold on the galaxy. And they're doing all kinds of different means to accomplish that and to try and keep control after all the chaos of the Galactic Civil War. So, we have a bounty hunter show, kind of imagined as I took some inspiration from other things. Suicide Squad is one, so you'll like that.
Very nice.
That is definitely a Dirty Dozen Suicide Squad type inspiration and approach to this.
Love it.
We have a team of bounty hunters recruited by a shady New Republic general to do some covert kind of black ops things off the books.
Ooh.
Espionage, they're kind of the Expendables. Now, these aren't known bounty hunters. I created these bounty hunters with my own imagination, my own fan castings, which
Very
we'll get
nice.
into the cast in a minute. But they're working for this shady New Republic general. He worked in the rebellion, doing some interesting stuff that we might get into later. We get into later in the story.
Yeah.
But he puts together this team of bounty hunters, really well-known bounty hunters throughout the galaxy, really powerful ones. Basically, he's like, hey, forget working for these crime lords. You can come work for me on New Republic cash, and I can pay you double what you're getting for any other bounties out there. Work for us, work as mercenaries. And he's also got a New Republic liaison guy, kind of a younger guy, who's going to be our Rick Flag, if you will.
Gotcha.
Keep the morality of the show intact as we go throughout it. Now,
Try to be the compass of the show in a way.
yeah, the moral compass. He's definitely
Yeah.
our moral barometer for the show.
Gotcha.
Are there any questions about that before I get into the casting?
Not really. I mean, I'm kind of getting excited about how this is going to flow, so I'm very intrigued so far.
All right, so I'll give a little bit more story before I go into the characters, but the setup is the Shady Generals hired them, specifically the story in this show. He's hired them to go after a very specific Imperial Remnant group called the Loyalists. Now, this is a faction break-off of the Imperial Remnant. They survived, They went off there kind of doing their own thing, right? Like a lot of them did. Like eventually became the First Order, was started by an Imperial Remnant out in the unknown regions.
Right.
This is a separate one. It was started by a former Royal Guard of the Emperor who survived all the business. He went off, gathered a small fleet, and started kind of getting ties into the galactic underworld and trying to seize more of Palpatine's artifacts. They left with a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of Palpatine's horde of Force artifacts, Sith artifacts. They were really obsessed with that. Nobody's really, no Sith or any Force-sensitive people, they're obsessed with these artifacts, collecting them because they're significant to the Emperor, and so they kind of worship him a little bit,
Gotcha.
Loyalists.
Yeah.
So this is the evil faction that our Shady General is sending our bounty hunters after, more
Gotcha.
or less.
Okay.
Try and collect this stuff for storage and for safekeeping, collect intel, and take out key members if necessary, do assassinations and those kind of shady things. Just kind of go kill those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so now we'll get into the casting. Now, heading it up, one of our first bounty hunter. This is a bounty huntress, a Togrutan, which is the same species as Ahsoka Tano and Shakti.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're relatively rare. A lot of their people were wiped out during the Clone Wars and probably the Galactic Civil War as well. But her name is Tayla Shar, and she is our resident sniper bad girl. She's really our super bad girl. Very inspired by Aura Singh. She's really cool in the Clone Wars. She's pretty brutal, so that kind of attitude, but she's here for the money. She's here for the killing.
Gotcha.
And she's equipped with her modified sniper rifle and 2 short vibroblade swords that are actually modified Night Sister swords. The Night Sister blades, if you've watched the Clone Wars, they're not vibroblades, they're kind of just swords.
Right.
But these are modified ones to be vibroblades, so they can cut through more things, kind of
Very
the
nice.
poor man's lightsaber, for those of you who aren't familiar with
with
the vibro blades.
They're kind of a starter.
Exactly. And her crests are kind of shorter than Shak T's, and a little bit shorter even than like adult Ahsoka's crests. She's got one that's kind of cut off, and she's got some scars. She's definitely beat up. She's tough.
So she's kind of the bad A chick of the species.
She is. She's the bounty hunter, like, for life. The other people, it's more of a means to an end. For her, she's bounty hunter. She definitely, we can get into maybe some of her backstory later if you're curious, if you have any follow-ups. Her companion, this is part of her backstory, her companion is a G3NT butler, modified butler droid, a.k.a. Gent. She found him during an assassination mission. She was assassinating an aristocrat on a really highfalutin planet, maybe even Canto Bight, question mark. But she, in order to help assassinate him, she had to deactivate the security, which was ran by the G3NT butler droid. She seized the droid and reprogrammed him to be her servant, and then subsequently assassinated her target, and has made many modifications to G3NT, aka Gent, over the years, turning him into a lethal weapon. Now, this is a different kind of droid that I created. This isn't an actual droid that exists in the Star Wars canon, but if you want to picture it in your head, this is kind of how I picture it. A cross between like a waiter droid from the casino in Canto Bight in The Last Jedi and a normal protocol droid with a little bit broader football shoulders, and that's kind of how I see G3NT, and kind of having maybe a little bit of a tuxedo design paint pattern on the front of his, like, chest console thing.
So you've got that look of like the old, like the tuxedo logo, the triangular body shape.
Yes,
gotcha.
But it's more polished, fancier armor, kind of like the Canto Bight waiter droids. Not quite as crude or dorky looking as a protocol droid, but still having some of those protocol droid movements. Oh, and I got to go back to Taylor Shar. I'm sorry. The voice acting, or this role will be motion captured and acted out by none other than Scarlett Johansson, a frequent collaborator with Jon Favreau. So
yes.
Definitely got some Jon Favreau collaborators. Jon Favreau maybe's got an executive producer role in this show too. He's helping me out. We're helping each other out.
He just
scratch his back, I'll scratch mine. Well, or maybe the other way around, right?
Whatever happens.
But ScarJo is Taylor Shar. Like I said, it would be. She would do a lot of the stunts and action of body movement. The face would be mo-capped. It's not going to be like her face with a ton of prosthetics, just because the movements of the character just wouldn't, I don't feel like, would work practically in an actual filming scenario. So I see it more as a combination of some practical things, but mo-capped, similar to how they did like Jar Jar Binks.
Very nice.
So that was really, really groundbreaking mo-cap stuff. For those of you who may be Jar Jar critics, you may not like the character. You can't deny that the technology that they were developing during the prequels was groundbreaking. You don't have, like the stuff that Andy Serkis went on to do is because of stuff that Ahmed Best did for Jar Jar Binks. So shout out to Ahmed Best. Go follow him on Twitter. He's an awesome dude.
Ahmed Best, yeah. And one thing I want to add on to that, like I'm not a fan of people who like to bash on actors because they don't like their characters.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. That's why human beings. Come on.
Like Jake Lloyd, who played young Anakin, quit acting pretty much because of the flack he got from.
Went through a lot of rough stuff
from Anakin, and I'm like, y'all need to back off a little bit.
That's a kid.
Let me step off my soapbox there, but that's
you're good. I agree with you 100%. But anywho, and then going back to G3NT, this will be voiced by none other than Nick Offerman. I love Nick Offerman so much. You got your phone handy?
I do. He sounds very familiar, but I'm going to double check.
He's of Parks and Rec fame. I don't really watch Parks and Rec, but I've seen him in
other
things.
That guy.
And he is absolutely hilarious. I think his voice talents would bring the perfect amount of comic relief, snarky humor, and also seriousness to the role.
Yeah.
Because G3, as we follow him throughout the story and get closer to the climax, him and his relationship to Taylor Shar definitely develops, and he opens up and becomes more complicated than he seems, which is kind of just a salty, sassy, like K2 with secret hidden weapons and a killer K2SO / AP5, which I love both those characters so much.
Yeah.
AP5 gets a lot of hate from Rebels, but I love AP5.
I loved K2 in Last Jedi.
Or you mean...
or Force Awakens.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, that was it.
Rogue
Sorry.
One, that's the one.
I'm sorry, there's so many movies there.
Hey,
but,
it's all good. They kind of get jumbled together sometimes.
Yeah.
Our next bounty hunter is once again a bounty huntress. Yeah, that's right. I'm a Disney shill feminist. So sue me. I like female characters. If you don't like female characters in Star Wars, you're in the wrong fandom because Princess Leia.
Yes.
So into that.
Rey, sorry.
This one you'll need your Google because I had to Google her name. I knew her from stuff that she was in, but I didn't know her name. I had to Google it to write it down. Rila Fukushima. So it's Rila space Fukushima like it sounds. Fukushima.
Oh, that's...
Now she is of the Wolverine and Arrow fame. In the Wolverine, she plays Yukio, and in Arrowverse, she plays Katana. She doesn't play Katana in Suicide Squad, unfortunately, but she's a great actress. I love her in the Wolverine so much.
Yeah, she was amazing in the Wolverine.
And she is going to be playing Kitama. Kitama is a human character from a planet, but she is... The interesting thing about Kitama is she is actually the daughter of a guardian of the will. Not so somebody who was who lived on Jeddah. She grew up on Jeddah, and her father was a guardian of the will, much like Chirrut was at one point in Baze Malbus from Rogue One. So she grew up with that kind of atmosphere, and her father was killed when the Death Star destroyed Jeddah City. And after that, she was a young girl. You know, she wound up in the criminal underbelly, and basically wanted to seek revenge after the Empire for destroying her family and her heritage. Now, she doesn't really embrace a lot of the values of the Guardians of the Wills because they're much more peaceful people. She's more feeding into her dark side emotions of just killing. She's not force sensitive per se, but she's force aware, much like Chirrut and other Guardians of the Wills would be.
Okay, sorry to jump in there, but I just realized another movie series she was in. Katrina would be interested in this. She was the quiet girl in the Pitch Perfect movies.
Nice.
I just kind of want to throw that out there because I just saw that on her.
Yeah, she's definitely the quiet type of character in the show. She doesn't say a whole lot. She's very calm. She's very much like a Kitana type of character. She has a mystical sword. Ooh. It's a sword from her heritage. It's an ancient sword from her people who practice their own type of force-centered religion, separate from like the Jedi or the Sith or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had these swords that they created just out of metal, but at the hilt there was a kyber crystal in the middle where the hilt fused to the blade, and it gave it more power in the sense that you could you didn't have to be able to manipulate the force as a force-sensitive person to be able to channel the force in a way through this blade.
Gotcha.
So she has a ancient sword that she's kind of modified a little bit to make it a little bit more powerful, and so it's like more powerful than, say, a vibroblade, but not quite up to par with the lightsaber, but it's definitely more on the spiritual side than on the technological side.
Gotcha.
Right? And it's the sword of her heritage that she's using to go around killing as many Imperials as she can get her hands on to avenge her family.
Very nice.
Now, our final bounty hunter couldn't not have a Mando in this. Din Faro is the name of our resident Mandalorian. He signed up because the general, I guess I'll just say his name, General Valak is the name of our shady general. The general has been trying to help Din Faro find his family. His wife and his daughter were kidnapped by the Empire after they left Mandalore during the whole, the battle and stuff of liberation of Mandalore during Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that. The Empire left, but they made off with his family, and they're very intelligent. Mandalorian women they're very a part of the warrior culture and understanding armor and technology, and so they were taken as slaves to work for the Empire, and they're still out there, and Valak is supposedly trying to help him in exchange for working in this team.
Gotcha.
So he's kind of a bounty hunter, kind of a not, kind of just in it to try and find his family. He's a family guy, but he's also a tough, freaking, big old Mando warrior played by Idris Elba.
Ooh.
Had to throw him in there.
There's
another Favreau collaborator. He was in Jungle Book.
Yes.
Did a great job in Jungle Book. Now moving on to our New Republic Liaison and my favorite actor out of the group as far as things he's been in. And another Favreau collaborator, Sam Rockwell, as Captain Blay Tifkin, who's kind of a younger, well, maybe not youngish, but naive New Republic officer. He was kind of thrust into the rebellion. Towards the end days, he saw a lot of the end horrors of it. He was kind of just thrust into the crap of it. And was just trying to survive and didn't really know a lot of the subtleties and the politics and the inner workings. And so he's just like, he's kind of a average Joe just trying to do his job to the best of his ability without really knowing what's going on around him. He's good at his job, but he's kind of shy. He's underspoken. He's quirky. But he really blossoms as a strong character throughout with his story arc and finding out that, no, maybe what we're doing is actually not right. I have this patch on my shoulder that says New Republic, and like that makes me feel good, but the things we're doing don't make me feel good. There's something else going on here, and that's kind of where that's going. And so that's more or less the pitch. That's the setup. These are our characters going forward. Oh, and General Valak can be played by Kieran Hines. This one you need to spell out. This one you only need to search. I had to get his exact name.
Right.
Once you see him, you'll be like, oh yeah, he's really cool. Wanted somebody to play this general who could play an authoritative figure who's an older gentleman who also had this mysterious, sinister side to him, and I think Kieran Hines is perfect. Ciaran Hinds.
Oh, there he goes. He popped up right away. Oh, yeah. He's one of those... he's a actor you'll know by face, but his name would escape.
Exactly.
But yeah, okay, I could see that because let's see, there's a lot of movies on here that he was in that I can't name off the top of my head, but he's very he's in a lot of famous movies there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's great. Anytime you see him in something, he gives a great performance, even if you may not like the movie or whatever. He's been in, bigger movies. He's been in kind of B movies for sure, but you can't deny he's a great actor.
The most recent one to kind of reference who he is, he wasn't recognizable in this role, but he was Steppenwolf in Justice League.
Right.
That was
right. And I still haven't seen Justice League. I'm behind a bad DC fan.
It's a good one. it's a definite rental. You'll probably buy it, but rent first.
Yeah. It's on HBO. It's on my to-do list, and I'm pushing for that Zack Snyder cut too, like everybody else. I gotta love Joss Whedon and all, but I want to see that Zack Snyder cut. People keep talking about it, but anyway, random. That'll be on the DC next superhero show next.
That'll be a superhero show.
But that's my pitch. So if you have any questions or any fun, what are your thoughts, man? What do you think?
I'm actually very excited. The one that caught my attention, besides the Katana type character, was Sam Rockwell's character. That, because just the description of how his personality is and his experience, it almost reminded me of Guy from Galaxy Quest, who he played. Almost like after that event, how he would have been able to react to things and stuff like that. He's
kind of like the guy that General Valak puts in there as okay, just keep tabs on everybody, make sure they don't go rogue, give them the orders, keep them on track.
Yeah.
For the audience, for a while, at first he's going to feel like, well, what the frick is this guy doing here? But then he really starts to emerge as his own person with his own value system. He's kind of like that classic Star Wars character, like a Luke or a Rey or even a Jyn Erso, who's kind of bright-eyed and naive and doesn't really know. They know kind of where they want to go, but they don't know how to get there. They're not in the moment, right?
Gotcha.
Yoda talked to Luke about that many times.
Very true.
You gotta be in the moment. Once he gets there, he really starts to emerge as a strong character and also be a badass as like everybody else. He knows how to use a blaster. He was thrown into the crap of it. He's just maybe not that good at thinking for himself and looking at the big picture and coming up with his own ideas instead of just doing what he's told.
Yeah. I'm very, very excited by this pitch. I mean, if we could go up to Jon Favreau today and be like, we need to put this now.
Yeah, Disney, if you guys like any of these ideas, we have contact info. You can hit us up at CakeDrainProductions at gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
I would be more than happy to help develop stories.
And if you want to contact us on Twitter at CakeDrain, that would help us out quite a bit as well.
And we're always open.
We're always open for collaborations.
CakeDrain is for hire.
We are very much up for it. So I love the array of characters. I think it has a great possibility for the story arc. I would love to see that. It got me interested.
Yeah. Everybody definitely goes through some stuff. And there's a great payoff to the thing. The great climax.
I love that, and I love that you are. Excuse me, I'm going to turn on my producer mindset for just a second. I love that you're so invested in it that you're going to be, even from a writer, producer, whatever standpoint, you're like me whenever I write an idea. It's like, I know every bit of this, and you're passionate, and I love that. And there's even stuff in there that I made, like, there were certain events that maybe didn't click for me at first, but just hearing the flow of it and stuff like that, I feel like even a somewhat, what's the best term for it? Like mild Star Wars fan could catch on to it fairly quickly. I think that'd be a really cool thing to go on to, even from a story standpoint.
Right. I think it would be a familiar. It would be like Rogue One in that it's familiar enough in its visual aesthetic to Star Wars stuff that you're not going to be like, well, what is this? I think maybe that's some people's issue with Solo's marketing. You know, not to get off on a total Solo tangent, I definitely want to touch on. So I love the movie of Solo. The marketing behind it was bad. It was not good. It did not get people psyched up and hyped for this movie like this was a must-see. And I think for Star Wars fans, it really is a must-see. It really is, even though it's not like a big Skywalker saga film. It's an awesome, awesome Star Wars movie. Definitely one of my favorites. But the marketing was, gosh darn awful. There's plenty. Once you see the movie, you'll be like, this is Star Wars as heck. The marketing didn't really push that. It had a couple Stormtrooper things. It had some good Han and Chewie moments, but it didn't really sell. This is Star Wars in theaters. Woo! It was like, hey, come check out this Solo movie if you get a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
And same, like, it took me forever to get a Moloch toy. I finally got my Moloch toy, and he is a prized possession. The merch, the Solo merch, man, I could not find it anywhere hardly. But anyway, off the Solo tangent.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, the visual aesthetic of the show would be, you know, it's definitely, it still kind of feels like Rebels versus Empire, but in this case, it almost feels like Bounty Hunters versus Empire.
Right.
You know,
and I love that.
But it's a colorful cast that's kind of this dysfunctional family that is very much key in Star Wars.
Right.
You have your dysfunctional family on the ship together, going around the galaxy on adventures, and, you know, it's classic Star Wars. There's just not Force users in the show.
Right.
But there is a way around that, and we can talk about that if you want.
I do like the different perspective on it. As a Star Wars fan, yes, I would love to see Force-sensitive people like Jedi or Sith in the show, but
oh yeah, and I definitely compensate for that. Trust me.
But I would love to see it from this other standpoint, kind of how Suicide Squad was this kind of, it's not Superman, Batman, superhero story. It's kind of the off-kilter group of people that get brought together to do a task, and I like that idea of these group of bounty hunters that are kind of lured in by, we got government money, we'll pay you double, and then it's kind of like, well, now you're working for us, and I would love to see that evolution and how that would be handled through the story, and like it got me interested enough to be like not wanting spoilers, but wanting to find information on characters and do all the nerd stuff, but still not wanting to be like, this would be a show I'd be like, I can't wait for next week's episode because I want to see this, and this.
Because it's a streaming service thing, it'd probably be like all 10 episodes at once, so you can just binge that stuff.
It would be a binge-watching occasion.
Yeah. I definitely went deep dive in this, and if I thought of something over a different day, the next day or something, I'd jot it down, and it's been something I've been sitting on for a while, because I thought of the idea on a basic level, and then I was like talking to my wife about it, like, hey, you want to do this together? We sat down and we were going to do it one night, and we weren't really feeling it, and I continued to develop it from then. But I had a lot of cool story bits, and And I mean, yeah, it feels like it's like I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, it's like, well, this probably isn't going to be made per se, but it's something that maybe I should actually write down.
Yeah.
You know? Because right now I just have very basic notes, and a lot of it still in my head. And so, yeah, I might write it down in a story treatment format. But,
a lot of the... If you... what you just described is kind of the CakeDrain formula of how we do things. Because a lot of our material, not to go off on a CakeDrain kick right now, but it's kind of if you look back over our stuff, a lot of it was, hey, I've got this idea, let's see where we can take it. And I like that, and there's times where we dug in, and there's other times where we just kind of like, let's just shoot it. And I think I love, those are where the best stories come from, is whenever you have a base idea, and then you just let it marinate and grow and come back to it every now and then.
Yeah, definitely very organic, and that's something that artists, that creators and storytellers have to embrace. You got to embrace the organic nature of storytelling and art, and not get too hung up on the rigidity of structure and rules and stuff. As necessary and important as those are, don't let them keep you from creating at all. You know?
Exactly.
That's why our shows are our podcasts here are pretty loose format, you know.
And even some of our shows are even that kind of like, we have certain points, but we just keep it kind of loosey-goosey. We can let it roll.
Yeah.
So
well, do you have any other thoughts on the pitch overall? Any other follow-up questions or final thoughts?
Final thought on that would be, I think it's a good fan show. I think it's a good way to kind of, it'd be one of those shows where it would get a following. Like, again, I'm coming from it as a pitch. If I was to receive a pitch like that, it definitely looks like something that could gain a following. It looks like something you could see, the like cosplayers going for characters, and it's something that can really build strong characters, and I think it could build a really strong fan base. I mean, I'd be part of it, just to be honest, even if I'm part of the project.
Oh, yeah, you got a Mando in there, you've got a cool Togruden, you got good iconography. Spoiler alert, there are lightsabers involved. There are Sith artifacts involved. The Force is involved, even though there's not a Jedi or a Sith per se involved. And it's really interesting. I mean, come on, you got the loyalists who are obsessed with Sith artifacts and the Emperor and trying to continue that legacy. And if you guys have read the Lando 5-issue one-shot, not the new one, not Double or Nothing, which is Young Lando, but the first one that came out a couple years ago, shout out to Comixology. They're not a sponsor or anything, but Comixology is where I get my, comics, free comics, discounted comics on my phone.
So,
but the whole, hold on, just a second.
I'll let you finish.
Let me finish my thought here.
Yeah.
The Lando 5-issue one-shot dealt with Emperor Palpatine's ship, and spoiler alert, and there's Sith artifacts, and they corrupt the minds of certain people, and there's definitely proves in canon that these dark side artifacts contain powers, and that is very much an inspiration in my show, and very much a big part of the payout. So there's some little story nuggets there for you guys. Good classic fighting stormtroopers, good classic bounty hunter scoundrel action, good classic melee combat, kind of standing in place of lightsaber battles. You've got vibro blades and other blades, melee weapons going at it, and some lightsabers in there eventually too. So those
you mentioning they're loyalists to the Emperor and the Empire and things like that. Would we see the Emperor at any point during your show as a cameo or any sort of...
Well, this is after he's dead.
Oh, okay. Well, then...
this is
this is
4 years after the
that's
Battle
right.
of Jakku.
Okay. So I was just kind of wanting to throw that out there
as influence,
as a question.
maybe one of those Sentinel droids that are maybe still around. The Sentinel droids, if you guys don't know, they're from Shattered Empire, the comic, short comic, in the lead up to Force Awakens, and also in Battlefront 2 campaign. The Sentinel droids were droids that carried specific messages and instructions of Palpatine after his death to his like generals and admirals and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I could see maybe the Loyalists have a Sentinel droid that they kind of keep around because they're like, hey, it talks like Emperor, but it only has a limited amount of things that it says. It's not like a sentient, conscious thing of Palpatine. It just kind of has a hologram of his face on its face, and then it'll say, do this, do it must be done. Do it.
Yeah, that's what I was... I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for
like a mascot
for myself, and also as a
Sentinel droid as
a fan question. Like, since they're loyal to the Emperor, will there
get Ian McDiarmid in there to do a little bit of voice work for some random Sentinel droid lines where he's just sitting in the corner going, "Do it,
get him now."
Good
anger. I love the. But I love the idea, even as a Sentinel droid. I was even thinking if there was like a flashback to, like, something of the Emperor speaking or something like that. Even
I mean, I can see it. The loyalists are kind of like just there in the story. They're almost kind of like a MacGuffin.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a little bit. But, so the leader wouldn't have a ton of backstory.
Okay.
And I don't even know if he dies. He's definitely a badass, and he definitely has some fights and stuff. You know, he's a royal guard that survived.
Right.
And is very proficient with a force pike, but which is their main weapon.
Right.
But yeah, I like that idea. Maybe a little flashback scene with him in his days being a guard of the Emperor, following Palpatine around, hearing some things, secret conversations with him and Vader, and
or even
people.
a random like sometimes you see the memory and have a little voiceover reference.
It's
or
like a
whatever.
motivation, like Palpatine's maybe giving a speech to his guards.
Yeah, and he's got a random
something that really
stuck in his mind.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. That was our first ever Pitch It To Me. Post in the comments your thoughts and tweet at us. Tweet at us at CakeDrain on Twitter. I'm at CainJM17 on Twitter. He's at Drake True Snake. Drake True Snake, because I tried tagging him in a tweet and I tagged Drake the True Snake and it didn't work.
It did not work.
People, don't do that.
There's not enough letters. I'm sorry. I tried.
Yeah, that's why it's at CakeDrain and not at CakeDrain Productions. But
right.
Follow us there. Tweet at us your thoughts and comments on this pitch. If you have any pitches, pitch them to us, guys. Tweet us, email us, whatever. We'd love to hear some of your fan fictions about your favorite fandoms. Next Pitch It To Me, Drake's got a cool pitch. It's going to be horror related, of course. We're gearing up for that Halloween season. Tell them what you got coming up.
I don't want to give too much, but I have for the next Pitch It To Me, it may have to do with a certain series that people are very big fans of. And also, I have a podcast I'll be doing soon, starting up soon, called Slash and Scream Podcast, talking about all things horror and that sort of thing. I've got some cool things we're going to be talking about on there. And also on our Cakedrain channel on YouTube, if you're able to check that out, I will be starting a show relatively soon, called The Brain of Cakedrain, where I'm going to talk about all things creative and kind of I may have some guests later on, but starting out, just kind of how you can do things creatively with what you got. I think it's a cool way to go about things.
Working on a budget, and that brings me to a little thing I want to plug here real quick. I'm working on a new cosplay character called Low Budget Sith Lord. I am Darth Canis, the Low Budget Sith Lord. So hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter's at CainJM17, but my name on there is that. Oh man. It's a goofy little character that I might be doing on a podcast or on a video soon. I don't know. I was just goofing around. I'm too cheap to be able to afford good cosplay stuff and not talented enough to make my own yet. Question mark? But in the meantime, I'm the Low Budget Sith Lord. Hit me up. I got some cool Halloween themed stuff coming up here on podcast too. I'm be talking about some monster movies. We'll be talking about some scary Star Wars stuff, of course. So look forward to all those goodies, and hit us up on YouTube at CakeDrain Productions, and hit us up on SoundCloud at CakeDrain Productions. Pretty much find us everywhere at CakeDrain Productions.
CakeDrain anything, we're there.
If you're listening to this on SoundCloud, your chances are you're listening to it a couple days early, because we're posting these podcasts on SoundCloud first, then uploading them on YouTube shortly thereafter.
And you can find our full podcast history on our YouTube channel as well. We're uploading those
Got
to
all
the
our
YouTube
old
channel.
ones. We're about to get by the time this podcast comes out, we should have all of our older podcast episodes on the YouTube channel. And also check out Drake's channel.
Drake the True Snake.
Well, thank you guys, everybody, so much. I'm Cain Martin for CakeDrain Productions.
I'm Drake Bartle for CakeDrain Productions.
Together we are CakeDrain.
CakeDrain.
You guys have a great evening. Peace out.
And remember, Bruce!